Welcome to Kimecast, where we break through and cut the BS in sports medicine, rehabilitation, and sports performance, and talk about how things really work. Welcome to Kimecast. Tony Mikla with Evan Hauger, and then our guest, this is Lucas Giolito. So super excited to have Lucas with us. We've been fortunate to get to know him over the last couple of years. So super excited to have him with us and talk a little about his baseball experience, his journey to the league, and some of the great accomplishments he's had this last year is pretty awesome. With the no-hitter is obviously pretty cool. So, but Evan, let's get us started here. Rock and roll with what are we drinking tonight?
All right, we're going to Belching Beaver, which is an awesome name. It's from San Diego, which is cool. We got a little Halloween theme with the skull. This one's called the Phantom Bride, and it's an IPA. I think this is another strong one. It is. We're a little over 7%.
Beautiful.
You only choose strong ones.
I know. Well, we're doing partial beers. I feel like we gotta
Might as well.
We gotta hit it.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah. Let's start with this. What you're wearing here? Can you talk about the necklaces we got going?
Got the new ice going.
Yeah.
So I like jewelry a little bit. Necklaces, kind of comes with the territory playing in baseball. Especially on our team, the White Sox. Guys show out on our team, especially the Latin guys.
Yeah.
You'll see Abreu running around with like 6 chains on. Eloy out in left field with his jersey unbuttoned to here and 7 chains popping out. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should mix it up a little bit and fit in with the rest of the guys. So last year, my wife ended up getting me this one for the All-Star game. And then this one is my new prized possession, little dog tag. It's got pretty much my reaction on the final out of the no-hitter. And then the back of it has got the line and everything, kind of a commemorative piece. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That was spectacular. The no hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a little nervous on the last out?
oh yeah. The ninth inning was like pure adrenaline, pure blackout stage, for real. Every inning up to that was like maximum focus, peak performance, and then the ninth inning was like, all right, hopefully this works out because I can't feel my arms and legs anymore. So, I'm out there trying to make pitches, and unfortunately, the last one wasn't exactly where we wanted it. It would have been cool to end it on a strikeout, but ended up pulling it in the zone. I see that hard contact going to right field, and it was immediate like, oh no. I didn't want to look, but sure enough, Adam Engel, Gold Glove caliber outfielder, manning right field that night, came in, made the snag on a very hard line drive.
I saw that one too, and on TV, that looked like that was getting down.
Yeah.
That didn't. That looked like that was getting down. I was nervous for you.
Am I good to take a sip?
Absolutely,
All right,
get
cool.
after it. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. So,
It's delicious.
That's
Nice.
good. You like
Oh
it?
yeah.
Nice. Okay, we went a little hazy. Now we know. Now we know what he likes. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to your high school days. I think there's kind of an interesting thing to talk about here. Is your high school? You weren't the only good player on your high school team. There's a couple other guys that are in the league now, right?
Oh yeah. We got Max Fried and Jack Flaherty, two big names in the league right now, on the Braves and the Cardinals. Those guys, grew up with them, playing baseball at Harvard Westlake down in North Hollywood, California. Max actually transferred over his senior year. He was at a school called Montclair Prep, and they ended up canceling. I think they were running out of money, and they ended up canceling all their sports programs right before his senior year.
Oh, wow.
So that's not very good for a guy that's looking to get drafted in the first round, not having a baseball team anymore. I was already very good friends with Max from all the summer circuit stuff, and I was like, hey man, apply to Harvard Westlake. I'm sure that we can make something happen. Sure enough, he gets in. We were in all the same classes together senior year, same exact schedule. And then Jack was actually 2 years younger than us. Okay. So he was a sophomore at the time while we were seniors. And pretty much the goal was to win everything that year. Didn't work out that way. Ended up hurting my elbow. I want to say it was my 3rd start of the season.
Okay.
But the team, despite me going down, that really allowed for Jack to step up in the starting pitching role in league play. He started to develop a lot. Max had a great season, ended up being the 7th overall pick. And the Nationals picked me 16th. They didn't care about the elbow. They had a guy named Steven Strasburg that recovered pretty well from Tommy
He
John.
did just fine.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, we'll take a gamble on this kid, and
Right.
luckily it's worked out.
So that's kind of an interesting thing, though, right? Because I think the story I've heard is that potentially you were going to be drafted a little bit higher, and then the elbow injury happened at kind of a tough time. So you're going through rehab as you're going through the draft process, and then your kind of beginning of pro ball is started on the shelf. What was that like?
Yeah, the rehabbing in high school, basically it was a tear in my UCL, but it wasn't a full tear. So the recommendation was PRP and physical therapy, try and rehab it back. That was pretty much the only option, because if I had gone under the knife, that probably would have killed my draft stock.
Right.
So I got 3 different sets of PRP injections, started on a rehab throwing program, rehab like strengthening program for the shoulder and elbow and everything. And I had good days and bad days. As it got closer and closer to the draft, I actually scheduled like long toss throwing sessions where scouts would come just to watch me throw, to see if I was feeling good, if the ball was coming out good.
Wow.
And I'd be going out there to like 200, 250 feet, throwing a ball and just being like,
Yes, indeed.
so I'm good, guys.
Yes,
I'm all right.
indeed. No problem.
And so, like I said before, Nationals didn't care. Like
Yeah.
they literally were like, "Hey, you end up blowing out, getting Tommy John. Don't worry about it. We got it." So
18-year-old kid, there's tons of time.
yeah. So I did. I fell to 16th. It was looking like I could have been a top 3 pick if I didn't get hurt. I was throwing very hard, a lot harder than I throw now. My curveball was kind of like Glasnow-esque at the time. I'm actually a completely different pitcher now than I was in high school, which is
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, end up working out, getting drafted, continued on the rehab program, built up to be able to pitch in games. And in my first professional start, on like my 11th pitch of the inning, it went completely.
Oh.
So
Wow, that is
That's a rocky
brutal.
road.
That is
Yeah.
a brutal start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone end up in the training room, and especially early on like that.
Yeah.
But, at least obviously they took care of you, and here you are. So
I think it probably helped that they, like they said, they didn't care. Like if there was
Yeah.
another situation, I'm sure that could have been a more nerve-wracking scenario.
yeah, I had conversations. I remember before I even made that start and blew out completely, I had conversations with our rehab pitching coordinator and with our the head athletic trainer in the Florida facility, where it was like, it doesn't feel that good. And they're like, well, just keep going along. Either it's going to get better or it's not. And if it doesn't, you get surgery and then you'll be fine. And I'm like, all right. I guess.
you say.
Yeah.
yeah, that's tough to take, but so it's true.
Yeah,
It's
really
true
true.
part of the process. It's like at that stage and that focus in your sport and your athletic career that you got to get out there and give it a go. And the good thing about this surgery is there is a winning strategy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
Winning strategy,
fixable
yeah.
there's a fixable option.
And what we keep seeing is that those PRP injections in rehab does kind of seem like it's just staving it off a little bit, right? It can maybe get you to a point where it's a little more feasible to have the surgery done.
I really think that it's just, no matter what you do, what you inject in there, what you put in there, it's completely dependent on the body of the athlete. I have a good friend, another big leaguer named Nick Pavetta. He grew up in Canada, played for Team Canada. And he, I want to say, similar injury to mine, like a partial tear of the UCL when he was like 15 or 16, just took a year off, came back, and he throws in the mid-90s.
Yep.
Never hasn't had an arm problem ever since.
Yep.
So it's weird. For me, it just didn't work out that way. I could tell like from the get-go, even after the PRP and everything, that like
just
it just
wasn't
didn't
right.
feel right. Like if I really tried to step on the gas, like it didn't want to
Wasn't
go. So I was pretty much just like waiting for that opportunity to step on the gas in the game so
Yeah.
so we could get it
Just
over
let
with.
it happen.
Yeah.
I think that's a great comment though, Lucas, too. Like you see this a lot with guys going through rehab or preparing for things, and here you are, like you've probably spent months throwing and bullpens and all of that work, and you survived them. Maybe you felt like you did well, or your pitching coach was like good enough to get you out on the mound to start. And then when you actually push it to game speed and game velocity, then 11 pitches in, there it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's so much always. I say this a ton to our rehab community and to our trainers. Is like, you've got to really appreciate the speed of the game and the demand of competition.
Absolutely.
And the intensity of that compared to what we try to create in a clinical environment and say, hey, you're good to go. Everything's looking good. It's like there's a big gap.
100%.
And we really try to bridge that as best we can. But at the end of the day, there's a gap there.
And for pitchers, I think it's pretty well established that like indoor, your velocity is going to be different than when you put cleats on outdoors, right? So I don't know what it is exactly, but I know guys always talk about a 3-4 mile an hour difference from what you would expect indoor on a turf mound and no bright lights, no people watching, and then you put yourself in a game scenario and you're expecting 3 or 4 more miles an hour to kick.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when you see videos of kids working out at Driveline, working out at OA here in Sacramento, like they're screaming, they're getting loud, they got everyone pumping them up to try and create any sort of adrenaline to be able to get that velocity going, because there is nothing like game speed. There's nothing like pitching in a game in front of fans against very, very good competition that's always going to like make things move faster. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it is for me. If I throw in an indoor facility, my velocity is always going to be down at least 3 to 4 miles per hour. I'm expecting that. I don't get discouraged because I know that I'm just putting in that work. So when it does come game time, I'll be ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, so here's my ambush question. So this kind of goes with your draft. Do you have a Samuel L. Jackson story?
I do.
Oh, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So Samuel L. Jackson, one of my favorite actors, also happened to be golf buddies with my dad.
Oh, that's where this came from.
Yeah, when I was growing up, probably from when I was like 10 to 15 years old, my dad and Sam and a few other guys, they're all part of the same country club and would play golf like almost every weekend if Sam was in town. And one time I went to the club, and I guess Sam was like hitting balls on the range or something, and we just kind of saw him in the parking lot. My dad's like, Sam, come here. And I had the chance to meet him for like a few minutes. It was really, really cool for me, being like 13 years old at the time.
For sure.
Just seen Pulp Fiction for the first time.
Probably just released Pulp Fiction.
That's the movie.
He's the best.
And I got a gift from him. I don't remember when, but I still have it. A signed Mace Windu lightsaber. He put a little message on there for me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that is sweet. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So the story I was really looking for is did he send a tweet on draft day? Did he tweet about you on draft day?
Probably.
Oh, you didn't even know about this.
Yeah, I'm sure that at the time I noticed. Yeah,
So
if you
this
can pull it up.
Yeah, let's see. This came from Ryan. So Ryan had Tommy John. We've had him on a previous episode. He had Tommy John. He rehabbed with the same guy you did, the same rehab coordinator you did. And this is where this comes from. This is Samuel L. Jackson. I don't even know what the last word is.
Congrats to Lucas Giolito. I like how you put at Lucas Giolito because that's not my Twitter. True beginnings of a bright future. Go get 'em, young fastballer fucker. That is awesome,
That's
man.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was written July 2012, so that was like right after I got drafted. That's sweet.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right.
I like the. I didn't know you went to Harvard Westlake. I think that's awesome. When I was at Arizona, we played against the Collins twins at Stanford at that time, and they
Oh, yeah.
so you guys got some like legit athletes coming out of there over the years. So.
Yeah, basketball, not too much football wise, but a lot of good basketball players. The Collins twins, a few guys that have played in college. A huge sport at Harvard Westlake's water polo. The water polo team's always very, very good. And then obviously baseball has become more and more prominent over like the last 10 years.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with their story there. I was like, how did they lose a game? But
Yeah.
I guess if they lose you, then that's 2 is great, but that's the recipe now for success, right? Have 3 All-Stars in the same team, and you should be in the World
good to
Series
go.
for sure, at least in the finals. Right?
Yeah, it I don't know if like that will ever happen again.
Did you guys all get to hit? Did they let you guys hit in high school?
They took the bat out of my hands when I was a sophomore. Yeah, I was very lanky and unathletic, and they were worried that I'd hurt myself running the bases. They're like, you focus on pitching. Max, his senior year, hit like close to 500.
Oh, wow.
He could have been drafted as like a hitter outfielder, 100% if he didn't want to pitch. Jack, same thing, third base, shortstop. He hit very well, but I was just relegated
It
to
was set
the
in
pitching
stone
mound.
for you from the beginning.
Yes.
So let's talk a little about, let's shift gears and talk a little about your pitching transition. So you kind of alluded to the fact that you're not the same pitcher now that you were when you were in high school. And I know there was kind of a significant transformation in one calendar year. So like from 2018 to 2019, and you can look at your stats and everything changed significantly. Can you run us through that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I'll even back it up a little bit further.
Sure.
I had the Tommy John surgery, came back quickly, a lot quicker than how they do it now. I think that I had the surgery in like late August or September, and I was back to pitching in games by like June or July.
That is pretty fast.
Yeah,
That's
10,
pretty
11
much-
months, yeah.
It's pretty close to a 12-month process.
Yeah, it was like that year rehab program, whereas nowadays when a guy gets TJ, it's like a year and a half
Yeah,
before they're
pushing-
back in game action.
Pushing that 16-month mark, yeah.
I'm actually thankful for it because wasn't stuck in that like purgatory.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it was like there was constantly work, there was constantly something to do, there's always something to look forward to because the rehab process actually felt like pretty quick. And I came back throwing pretty hard, kind of similar to how I was in high school, just relying on the fastball and curveball. But the one really good thing about Tommy John rehab for me was it allowed time for myself to develop my changeup. The way the rehab process works is like the buildup and throwing is so slow. You know, you start at 45 feet of just lobbing the ball like that, and then it's like slowly progressing out to long toss, and then you start to get off a mound, but like only once a week, and then you start to build up more and more. So with all of that monotonous throwing, I was like, might as well just throw a changeup grip on there and start getting an actual feel for it, because before that, my changeup was pretty much garbage. I didn't have any feel for it. When I did throw it for a strike, it was like way too fast and flat. And so I started to just play catch with the changeup, and I started to develop feel for it to where I could cut velocity down a lot and be able to command it. And so I came out of the surgery with an actually pretty decent changeup, which I thought was pretty solid.
Yeah, sweet.
I think that's huge from a rehab perspective. Sometimes it's not the changeup, sometimes it's something else. But when somebody goes into a rehab process for that long of a time, that time can be used so valuably. And I think this is a conversation we have with people every single day when they're they're going under their knife or they're going into this big long year or more process. Is they've got to figure out something that they can get better at, and maybe it's developing a changeup, maybe it's developing their body. They get stronger, but there's other things they can focus on. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, so I'll kind of like fast forward from there. Came back strong, started to like climb the prospect lists again, and I pitched very well my first full season back. But then the next couple years, I started to fall into some bad habits mechanically. I kind of lost my lower half. I started to like pitch with like a swinging gait where it's like tall and fall, not really driving with my legs. And I just became out of sync. And so I was actually working on that a lot in 2016 when I was in AA, trying to make adjustments start to start. But then I got called up well before I was ready, but I mean, I'm not going to complain.
Can't say no.
Yeah, so
Game checks are good.
yeah, absolutely. So I didn't have success in the big leagues. The Nationals ended up trading me to the White Sox, which I was kind of excited about because it was like a fresh start. I feel like I kind of didn't do well in the big leagues. I didn't make a good first impression of the Nationals, and it seemed like, the emotions were changing as far as my player development. So had that fresh start. Same thing though, like it just didn't feel right. Like the way I was throwing just didn't feel right, but I wasn't willing to like really change anything about my routine, really like do anything different. I just wanted to keep doing the same thing and just like try to make adjustments on the fly. And so continuing on that path, 2018 was where it really hit me in the face. The White Sox gave me an opportunity to have a full season in the big leagues, no matter what. Like, you're making all your starts. And I failed miserably. The numbers were really bad. Started to deal with all sorts of other things because I was pitching so poorly, like anxiety, a lot of negative thoughts when I'd be out there pitching, to where at the end of the season, it was kind of like a wake-up call where it's like, hey, I'm so much better than what I'm showing, but if I continue down this path, like, my career is going to be a lot shorter than it should be. So it's about time to really take the bull by the horns and just put myself out of my comfort zone, like try new things, see if, if I start to do some different stuff, maybe even considered wacky stuff, that something might stick, something might feel good. And so got to work. The most noticeable things that I changed were the arm action. I went from super long with an arm stab back here to being more tucked in. That allowed me to be more on time. So like when I get down the mound and my left foot hits and I'm getting ready to transfer that energy, my arm's in a good spot.
It's ready instead of lagging behind.
Yeah. It went from like my arm being here to now my arm's here. That's going to lead to more consistency. Another thing I did was I really got to work on the lower half mechanics. I utilized a tool called the Core Velocity Belt. I started implementing a lot more lower body movement and stabilization, especially like single leg stuff, which is what we're doing right now, to really start to develop and feel those muscles. Me being a very quad dominant guy, starting to feel the hamstrings, starting to feel the hips work, starting to feel the glutes work. And it just kind of all came together, and it was by no means a finished product by the time the 2019 season started, but I was well on my way. I was on the right path. And yeah, I mean, things got better and better and ended up being a kind of a breakout season for me.
Right. You were an all-star that year. Then you fast forward to a year later, you throw a no-hitter, you have a playoff start. What was the playoffs like without fans?
It was weird. It was
Did
weird.
You ever picture that? You can't imagine.
The thing is, I had never played in the playoffs
So
in
you
the
don't
big
have a frame
leagues.
of reference,
Yeah,
that's
honestly, my last time pitching in a playoff game was my junior year of high school. And coming up through the minor leagues, there was only one team I played on that was a winning team and made it to the playoffs, but I was already shut down with my innings limit from Tommy John surgery, so I didn't play in the playoffs. I was a cheerleader. And then, fast forward to 2020, I finally get my chance to play in the playoffs. And it was, everything I could have hoped and more. It was a really special moment for me. I love competition. I love playing in meaningful games. And so the fact that not just myself, but our entire team made that transition from like the rebuild and losing to then winning and being a team that can be considered a playoff contender, a World Series contender, it makes it so much more fun. So, yeah, playing in front of no fans in the playoffs, it was a little strange, but we had done it all season, right. So we're pretty much used to it by then. The one redeeming thing is that playing in Oakland, the sound system's amazing, and they were playing great music. Like every time I was warming up, I was like bobbing my head, just having a good time getting in the zone.
That's the one nice thing about that
Yeah,
stadium.
that's-
There's probably
Yeah.
not much else nice about that stadium.
Yeah.
For the Coliseum, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think that's a really good story and a perspective. I think for so many fans too is the reality of professional sports is the people that make it to the elite level probably played an elite level for quite a while, and for you in high school, you had an elite team and are at a high level, but then you go through some struggle, and you really aren't in that level of competition until almost, I think it was 8 years later or so.
Yeah.
It's quite a journey. Like, it's quite a long time, and if you think about just that persistence and then that challenge of what that's like to face that, it's pretty incredible. I've seen that a number of times, but the top 1% of guys that make it to the big leagues, whether it be in baseball or any sport that might be, they've had a lot of success and they might have quite a bit of down, and then as a fan, you might watch someone take the mound or enter the game and, oh, I haven't heard of this guy before. And he goes out there and performs. Like, that's incredible. Sometimes it's a 5, 6, 8 year span where before they got a chance to step up like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean,
It's quite a process.
That's the thing. That's why I love baseball. Like, it's a sport, but it's like so comparable to life. Like, a Hall of Fame level hitter, if they go 3 for 10 for their entire career, you're failing 7 times.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like one of the best to ever do it. That's kind of like how life is. Like, life is going to like throw stuff at you. It's going to smack you in the face, and you have to learn how to pick yourself up, how to make the adjustment, and then move on to be able to find that next level of success.
Yep.
Yeah, there's very, very, very few players in the big leagues that are just super good, like from, when they're in little league to high school to the minor leagues, never have any issues, whether it be injuries or poor performance or bad habits, whatever it may be. There's very few guys that just set the world on fire, get to the big leagues, and just dominate and don't have to make adjustments.
Yeah, right. There's got to be a struggle somewhere.
100%, 100%, and a good example of that, guy on our team, Luis Robert. He's one of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable. He's a 5-tool baseball player, but he made his debut this year, setting the world on fire. But as the season started to go on, pitchers started to adjust. They started to see his weak spots and abuse those weak spots. And so he got very, very cold at the plate. That kind of mental struggle is going to start to take a hold, and you have to learn how to overcome that. And I'm very proud of him because when it came time for the playoffs, he found his confidence, he found his rhythm, and he delivered. He had a great, we only played 3 games, but he played great in all 3 of them. So, that's part of it. Whether you're young or, you're struggling, find that way to make the adjustment. For me, it was like, I'm going to throw out everything I ever knew, and I'm going
start fresh.
Yeah, I'm going to start fresh, and I'm going to completely learn a bunch of new stuff, and end up working out for me. If that didn't work out, then I would have gone and find something else to do until something did work.
Right. So what do you say to a guy like Louis Robert? What do you say to somebody like him? Because for perspective on this, when we say you struggled when you were 21, 22 years old. I mean, you were young, right? In a game playing against 31 and 32-year-old guys that have been doing this for 10 years, wily veterans. But what can you say to somebody like Louis Robert to help him?
The biggest thing when you're going through that is you have to slow it down. When something's wrong mechanically, or something's wrong with like your approach at the plate, I can't talk too much about hitting because I'm not a hitter, but I know a little bit.
They stopped you doing that when you were a sophomore.
Yeah, exactly. I know a little bit. I hang around those guys. Yeah. So when you're in that spot, it's very easy to start going to the video room and just looking at video and picking apart little things. Oh, is it that? Is it that? Is it, are my hips going too early? Is my leg lift incorrect? Oh, my hands starting here when they should start here? But that's generally not the case. If you start doing that stuff, you're going to get the wheels going, but not necessarily in the right direction. The biggest thing you can do is take a step back, look at it from a different perspective, kind of realize where you are, and maybe pick out 1 or 2 things that you think will really help improve. And a big part of that is communication with your teammates, coaches, people that have helped you along the way, like your circle of trust. And when you can fall back on that, then that will allow you to kind of have a more clear mind in going into what you need to do to improve.
That's phenomenal.
Oh,
I have a great story on this. So I was, and this is not me by any means, but I was watching Baseball Tonight, or one of those baseball shows, and it was Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz, I think Frank Thomas, and then Pete Rose. So just 4 of the best hitters of all time, right? And they're all on there talking about hitting, and somehow they get on the topic of slumps, and they're all standing there around this like fake fake home plate with the batter's box. And, A-Rod will say, yeah, I would go when they're in a slump. When he's in a slump, he'd go into the video room and he'd figure out this. And for him, it was always this timing thing. And Frank Thomas was like, yeah, I had this one drill I love to do. And he'd set it up. And David Ortiz said something similar. And Pete Rose was kind of standing off in the corner looking at all these guys. And then Pete Rose steps up. They say, well, Pete, what did you do? Did you do anything different? He's like, I didn't do any of that dumb shit. I would go stand in a different part of the batter's box. I didn't change anything about my swing. I would go move my feet, and I would go stand in the back of the batter's box for a day, and then I'd stand in the front of the batter's box for a day, and it would just change my eye level with the ball, and it would always come back to that. This dude's got over 4,000 hits. There's something to what he's saying.
Keeping it simple.
Keeping it super simple.
Yeah, I think, we see that in our field of mechanics and looking at movement. To your point, that's amazing. Like, we see this huge dive deep into like detailed movement and mechanics, and a lot of times that can paralyze you, and it ends up, in golf we call it the
Charles Barkley.
Yeah, the Charles Barkley situation.
Well,
where
the yips in baseball,
where you just you're delayed and it's not flowing well and that good stuff. So sometimes it can be mechanical, but if you made it to that level of a hitter and you're in the big leagues, I mean, you've obviously got some things that are working for you. It's just a matter of probably getting that mind right, get the system calmed down, see the ball more clearly. I thought that was a great thing. I learned from the great challenge that Leon Lee put out there, and he was a career 299 hitter, which kills him from the story he told that he's not a 300 hitter because of just maybe a few hits and the difference there. But that he put a challenge out to young folks of like, when you see the baseball, follow it the whole game. Follow it from the pitcher's hand to the catcher, back to the pitcher. If the ball is fouled off, pick it up out of the umpire's hand, start watching that ball and see the ball more clearly to tie in that idea of vision and connection to the ball. And you'll get your timing back by starting to really connect with that. So I thought that was a cool piece of advice at that time from a hitting perspective.
That guy also has one of the best handshakes I've ever
he's got some
experienced.
paws.
Yeah, he's like 70 years old and he about broke my hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit more then, and I want to hear about your 5-day routine. So, and maybe how that's changed over the course of your career as you've kind of changed some other things about
So, 5-day routine, being a starting pitcher, you have 4 days in between starts. Every once in a while with off days and changes in rotation and whatnot, you'll get an extra. But I'll start with what it used to be, which was just what coaches and what more experienced people would tell me it should be. And then I realized over time that that's good, that's great. You want to listen to people that have experience, but at the end of the day, it's your routine and you have to own it. And so that's kind of another whole part about what 2019 was about, was really figuring out, okay, what can I do on a daily basis in season, in between starts, to fully prepare myself for that next start. I remember there's one press conference that Garrett Cole had after or before a World Series start or a postseason start. I think it was in 2017 or 18, where he went into detail about how important it is for him to be as mentally and physically prepared as possible for that next start. He wants to do everything in his power to be the most prepared guy when it comes time to take the ball and pitch in the game. Because if you have fully prepared, then when it comes time to perform, you don't have to worry about it.
It's the mental edge.
Yeah, it's you have that inner confidence that I've done everything I possibly can. I didn't waste a minute. I've done everything I can to be ready to go. So all I have to do is take this ball and then let my body, let myself do what it knows how to do. And so I remember watching that and being like, wow, okay, I got to get to work. And so yeah, part of 2019 was really honing that in. Obviously, I introduced a lot more drills, a lot more things that I didn't do before. The plyo ball routine, throwing the heavy balls against the wall for a warm up, the core velocity belt, different movement patterns in the gym. And so I wanted to make like a very comprehensive, clear routine for me that I knew would work and that I can continue, that's still like flexible enough that I can add to it, subtract to it if need be. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll start day one, the day after you pitch, huge recovery day. So when it comes to throwing on day one, pretty light. I don't go further than like 120 feet. I'm not like ripping off pitches on flat ground. It's the focus is completely on just like getting my body moving, getting my arm moving, seeing the ball have good backspin and carry, and that's about it. In the weight room on day one, it's a leg day. Depending on kind of where I'm at with the phase of the lifting, it will either be like very heavy or more like movement based with higher reps. But I generally like to do some form of squat, whether it be like dead squat or something like that. It's really just, it can change a lot.
It's variable, but that's the day where you go after your legs.
That's the day. Yeah, that's the day where I go after my legs. There's also a lot of core stuff involved.
And probably some soft tissue for you too, because we know you're a guy that gets
Soft
tight
tissue
after
every
you
day.
throw. Yeah.
Soft tissue every day. Yeah, I'm
Training
going
staff is there. Utilize them.
Yes. I try to take care of those guys as best I can at the end of the year, but I do get after it in the training room.
Yeah. But
big-
you have to. We know you get tight after you throw. You lose a couple of things, and
Yeah.
a little work restores it. So yeah.
Yeah. So where was I? So the throwing's pretty light. Really trying to crush legs in there, and as far as the training room stuff, a lot of stuff is every day. I'm getting soft tissue work on my shoulder on this back area pretty much every day. If something's particularly sore, like my forearm will get a little bit sore if I threw like a lot of breaking balls, then okay, we'll work on that too. Get my knee worked on all the time because I kind of deal with a little tendonitis in there that kind of comes and goes, so I have to stay on top of that.
The brace leg.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of whatever else is bothering me, I'm not afraid to get work on it because I want to be in the best possible shape to pitch in games.
It goes back to what you said about Garrett Cole being the best version of yourself when you step out there.
Yeah. So another big thing for day one is massage. We have a fantastic masseuse that works full time for us, Jess, with the White Sox. Day one, I see Jess for like an hour and a half. Get whatever I need to get worked on, and that's pretty much it. Going into day two, I don't throw my bullpen on day two. I'm a day three guy. I used to be day two, and then I started throwing bullpens on day three just because getting off the mound one day closer to getting off the mound in game, I felt like worked better for me. And I honestly felt like my arm was recovering better, giving myself more time after the actual start to recover. And then in the, whether the bullpen's intense or not, it's still a bullpen. It's not game speed. It's not going to kill me.
It's still much less, right, than what you're doing when you're out there. Yeah.
So day two is upper body lift, shoulder program, strength manuals, strength programs. So like, the Job exercises with like 10s and 8s and stuff like that. And then strength manuals being the ones where
all the stuff we do on the table, all the hands-on stuff.
Yeah. So, you have like stability. The strength is when, man, it's hard for me to remember. It's like they're pushing.
Yep. It's external rotation.
Yeah.
It's rows.
Yes.
And then you've got scaption. I know the White Sox routine.
All those. Yeah. So that's shout out Mike Reynolds. So
that's the guy.
And then, where was I? Throwing a little bit more intense than day one on the throwing. And then going into day three, I get prepared for the bullpen in the training room. First thing I do, go out and throw, I wouldn't consider it like a full long toss, but I extend it out a little bit more, get my body moving, feel that extension. Another big part about my routine, which is every single day, it applies to every day, is attention to detail in catch play, in your throwing. If you're just out there throwing to throw, you're not getting anything out of it. You're just moving your arm and releasing a ball. But if you have intent behind every single throw, for me, being like a four-seam guy that wants to throw the ball with good spin, I want to feel that on every single throw. So, it's all about being behind the ball, spinning it, pulling down, and seeing the ball travel like that. When I see the ball start to die, that shows me, okay, I know that I probably pulled off, I probably got on the side of it, and it didn't have true spin. So it's always focus on it's like I see a hallway to my catch partner, whether I'm 10 feet away or I'm 200 feet away, and I want to keep the ball in that hallway. And so go out about, depending on how I'm feeling, 150, 200 feet, come back in, get on the mound, generally 35, 45 pitches with, again, a very clear idea of what I want to work on. That will be based on the previous start. That will be also based on who I'm going to be facing.
Yeah, how do you determine that? Is that part of the game plan going into the next start? Do you determine that with your pitching coach, or is this kind of you sitting down and figuring it out, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, always communication with the pitching coach. But at the end of the day, it's, looking at the schedule and seeing, okay, I'm going to be facing this lineup. I know from experience, especially if it's like an AL Central team.
That sees you all the time.
Yeah, that sees me all the time. Okay, what did I throw a lot of last time I faced them? What do I think their approach is going to be like? Should I work on locating the changeup better because I was leaving the changeup up last game? Should I work on landing my slider for a strike so I can maybe surprise these guys? Something like that. But the number one is always fastball command. Every single pen, the focus is always on fastball command. And for me, it's generally fastball command in the top part of the zone and above.
And that's because of the spin thing you just talked about, right?
Yeah, that's because I'm a guy that spins the ball, throws it straight, generates what we call ride or carry, where the ball stays on plane more so than an average fastball.
Because of a faster backspin rate.
Yeah, it's like the backspin, you got the spin rate, you have the spin axis, all that stuff. I have a very low level understanding of it all, but I know enough that I know how to utilize it.
I'll
if
be
that
frank,
makes sense.
you have a much higher level understanding than most players, I think.
You'd be surprised at the how much guys are learning now with the way baseball's going.
With the numbers that are coming in, yeah.
Yeah, so after the bullpen on day 3, come back in. First thing is stability manuals day, which is also a lot of band stuff. So, you got all the different band exercises. Then I go onto the table and do I call them stab mans. Stability manuals where that's when you're holding it, they're pushing it around.
We call that rhythmic stability.
Stability, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it up,
more
boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, rhythmic stability, and so knock all those out. Then I go in the weight room, and I'm not lifting on day 3. I'm actually doing a lot of agility work, a lot of just movement pattern work. The closest thing to lifting would be throwing the med ball. Working on explosiveness, on controlling my hip movements, ladder drills where I'm moving my feet around, because big thing for me being a big guy is I really want to improve the athleticism. I want to be better at fielding my position, better running over to cover first base. All that kind of stuff is important to me. That's, if you're good at that stuff, then you're going to pitch more innings. That's just how it is. So that's pretty much the day 3 workload. And then day 4 is the lightest day. Nothing in the weight room, nothing shoulder program wise. Catch very, very light. Still with attention to detail as always. And then the most demanding thing I do on day 4 is my core velocity belt work, where I put on the core velocity belt. I have 4 drills I do with it. I do it outside in a bullpen, whether we're at home or road. Go outside in the bullpen, and something that I started to add in about midway through 2019 was like really intense visualization while I do those core velocity belt drills. Cool. So I never throw with that thing on, but I'm like in my mind pitching in a game, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I have the belt on. By the time I get to the drills where I'm actually going through my full delivery, I'm now visualizing myself on the game mound, time of day, weather, amount of fans I think there's going to be. Obviously, we had none this year, so that was easy. Guessing what I think their lineup is going to be in my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then every single pitch, seeing the catcher, seeing the sign, and in my mind, executing a pitch over and over and over again. Full at bats, generally visualizing good results, but also mixing in bad. So like, let's say I have the belt on. So like I have it on and I go through my mechanics and I can feel that like I drifted, that I didn't stay in my mechanics. And I know that like if I were to do that in a game, throwing a pitch, it wouldn't be a good pitch. So it's like, all right, ball one, or all right, left it down the middle, double. Okay, now I'm in the stretch.
Yeah, that's a very.
And now I'm facing this guy. So that's like kind of adding in that intense visualization just for more preparedness coming into the next game.
That is super cool. So just for people that don't know, the core velocity belt is essentially this bungee cord that does this spiral around you, wraps around your waist, and you're using it to really figure out how to get into your hips. You talked about that as being something that you struggled with early on and one of the big changes that you made, but Lucas uses the core velocity belt as a way for him to figure out how to get into his hips and create a little bit of rotational force to start with. Give him a rotational cue to start his delivery.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't really get into detail on that earlier, but before I put that belt on for the first time, I was like searching for that feeling of how do I feel like I'm grounded and I'm driving down the mound. I've had pitching coaches, I've had all sorts of people tell me like you need to drive down the mound better. You need to like feel it and get down that thing. And I'm like, okay, how? I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what it feels like. And I had been searching and searching like for that feeling to the point where it became like paralysis from analysis, especially in 2018, where I was trying every single thing I could, but not really using my brain, if that makes sense. And so being introduced to that tool is fantastic. First time I put it on, I get on a mound, I do like one dry throw, and I'm like, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like. Okay, cool. So now we can start working.
It is. That's cool. It's driving movement through some sensory integration, like giving you that. And we talk about external cues. That's clearly an external cue. It's fantastic.
Create an environment where they can be successful.
Yeah, we talk a ton about kinetic linking, kinetic energy, and that's you driving through the mound and really interacting with the earth at the end of the day. And pushing and see can you generate force. So and that's just another way to kind of make you feel it. And then once you get it dialed in, obviously that led to some success.
I'm still like coming back in my head to this, like when you're visualizing bad results too. I've read some stuff on sports psychology. I've spent some time looking into those things. That's a little bit of a different thought than I've.
It doesn't stop there either.
That's really cool.
Yeah, when I get home that night, the night before I pitch, going over scouting report info, I fire up MLB The Show on PlayStation.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah. I fire up MLB The Show on PlayStation, baseball simulation.
Lucas is a huge gamer. You can follow him on Twitch if you're doing that.
Yeah. Twitch.tv/General Geo. So
I don't know anything about that.
I fire up that game. I have all my scouting report materials in front of me on my phone, iPad, stuff that our catcher put together, stuff that the team put together, stuff that I've put together myself. I have it all in front of me. I'm not the type of guy that can learn by just reading. If I'm going through and just trying to read this stuff, when I get into that game situation, it's going to be gone. I've tried. It doesn't work for me. So it's like, how do I find a way to make learning this stuff more interactive, make it fun, so then it's something I'm looking forward to, and then it's something that I can keep with me when, shit hits the fan. And so, yeah, I put on the game. Again, like for the visualization aspect, trying to make everything in the game like it's going to be the next day. So if it's a night game, put it on.
Select night,
Put on
yeah.
that's select night. If it's a day game, select day. What uniform are we wearing tomorrow? What uniform are they wearing tomorrow? So the hardest part is guessing the other team's lineup.
Yes.
I've only done it perfect like once or twice.
Was that the no-hitter?
No, I actually.
Just
That
wondering.
would be there'd be something to that.
the night before the no hitter, I actually wasn't even close. I don't think. But at the end of the day, I want to make everything as close to what it's going to be. And sometimes I'll play one game, sometimes I'll play two. Kind of depends on how well I already know the lineup. Like if it's Kansas City Royals, I'll probably play one game because I've faced them so many times. But yeah, I mean, I have all the stuff in front of me. I'm going pitch to pitch. I simulate everything except for myself pitching. So I'm in control when I'm pitching, and it's like pitch to pitch. The first time through the lineup, I throw a pitch. I look down. Okay,
What's the game?
what's the move? He's behind in the count. He likes to swing at this. He doesn't swing at that. Okay, this pitch is going to be good. This pitch is going to be bad. Whatever. And then I throw the next pitch.
Yeah.
And I don't play on such an easy difficulty that it's just domination.
Yeah.
I did do that for a while, and then I realized, I should probably make it a little more realistic. So, I kind of bumped up the difficulty a little bit. I'll give up a homer. I'll give up a hit. I'll walk a guy, and then now it's okay. Now I'm pitching with the scouting report, with everything going on, but now there's a runner on second, there's a runner on third. Okay, what do I need to do to get this guy out, to get out of this situation? Because that's stuff that's going to happen in real life.
Exactly. You gotta put yourself
no matter how well you prepare, you're not going to throw a perfect game every time.
Right.
So, they'll just kind of go from there. Whether I have a good result in the video game or a bad result in the video game, it doesn't matter. It's all about the work I'm putting in. And so that's just kind of another level to mix that visualization aspect, seeing yourself be successful, seeing yourself work through things along with the actual concrete work you have to do to prepare physically. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, I
So
think
cool.
the takeaway there is that's a full-time job.
Yeah, of course.
There is. I mean, I think people watch sports and don't have that perspective. And we talk to you guys all the time, and you can see that you guys work hard. But I don't think everybody sees that's just in between starts. Starting pitcher's got it easy. He's going to throw and then go play golf for a few days. That ain't it.
I don't know. I can't do it, man.
No.
I had to retire from golf. I'll pick up golf clubs again when I retire from baseball because I think my swing's too steep. It makes my back hurt. I'm over it.
Yeah, leave it. Right? Just another variable we don't need to
Yeah.
control. I think that's phenomenal. And I think the way you use the video game from a visualization standpoint, that's so cool, so meticulously done. And you've come to this by failing, like you said, many times, and then putting all these right things together. And like you said, you're willing to adapt. So if something comes along that you need to change, then you can make an adjustment. I think that's super cool. So that's the 5-day routine. What does an off season look like for you? And I know that's been different every year. And last off season is probably not the best framework for things because it was
Last off
3 or
season
4
was
months
crazy.
longer than it normally would have been.
Yeah, last one was a lot of adjustments on the fly. Obviously, I got the flu. I got hurt. It was a mess, but end up coming out having a good season regardless.
Yeah.
The off season routine, I take a little bit of time off, which is over now. We're back in the gym, back working with you. The emphasis in the weight room becomes just more volume. Lifting legs on Monday, upper body Tuesday, agility and movement on Wednesday, lifting legs on Thursday, upper body on Friday. And then as I get closer to season, on either Saturday or Sunday, I'll start to implement going on the what's it called? Stationary bike. We have
Do
one of
some
those.
conditioning, the assault bikes.
Yeah, but we have one at home where it's like the classes. I forget what it's
Oh, you
called
got
for
the
some reason.
Peloton.
Yeah, we have a Peloton. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so I'm not a big. I hate running. I realized, despite I'm telling you, in the minor leagues, they made you run. Oh, it's the day after you pitch. Like, go have your 45-minute
Do your
flush
pulls
run
out there,
Yeah,
yeah.
run 20 pulls. And I would do it because they told me to. But I would come back in like, oh, everything hurts. Like my shoulder hurts, my back hurts.
Doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
seem right. This is a perfect segue into our segment of what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah,
Why are we making baseball players run pulls?
I don't know. Yeah, you texted me about that earlier, and
Yeah.
I don't know why that didn't pop in my head.
You had a couple other good ideas. We can stick with this one.
Here's the thing. Some guys like to run. Like it can be cathartic. It's great conditioning if you have good form. There's many benefits. One guy at the top of my head that comes to the top of my head when I think about running and being a pitcher is Max Scherzer. He runs a lot. Like the day after he pitches, he goes out there and basically runs a marathon. Like
He's a bit crazy though, right? Like he's a little.
I mean, that's the thing though. Is like crazy.
That's probably
Crazy
Gets it done.
equals
Successful.
really good.
Yeah.
you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So he runs a lot. He's a big proponent of it. He actually had me go on a run with him when I was a rookie with the Nats, and like just blew me away. I was like throwing up. It was horrible. And so
This is called hazing.
yeah, for real. And so I kind of realized like over the years, like I get it. You know, you want to be in good shape, like you want to have good cardiovascular, whatever. But like running does not make my body feel good. Like I feel like every time I go and run long distance, like I'm just breaking my body down because like I'm self-aware enough that I know my running mechanics aren't good. Like I land on my heels and like all these other things. And so I was like, I'm just going to cut it out. I'm just going to cut it out completely. Forgot to mention in the 5-day routine, day one, lower body lift and conditioning. When there is a rowing machine available, that's what I'm on. I love the rowing machine.
cool.
I will crush the rowing machine, do intervals, get the heart rate just pumping. That's what I like to do. I don't have to worry about my like legs like constantly smacking on the floor. I'm just going and going. And so, I'll do stationary bike or some clubhouses don't have the best weight rooms, and all that will be available is like a treadmill or what are they called? Elliptical machine. And I'll go on that and just like jack up the
Intensity, the
yeah,
increase.
resistance.
the
Incline
resistance
up.
and the
Yeah.
incline. So you have to get creative with it, but for me, I just realized like that long distance running stuff is not going to work for me, and I just completely cut it out of my routine. I was honest with like our strength coach and everything. Like it just doesn't make me feel good. Like I want to do things that make me feel like I'm preparing
Totally.
to pitch.
And I think on that note, we're seeing the pendulum kind of swing away from that. I think that was the recommendation forever, as long as I can remember. And I haven't played baseball for many years, but as long as I can remember, that was what pitchers did. Is the day after throwing, they're out there, they got to run their pulls. However many pulls that coach decided, they're running their pulls just
Yep.
continuously. You're taking BP, they're out on the warning track, making sure they don't get hit, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do see the pendulum swinging away from that, and especially in the strength conditioning world and people that work with baseball players, is the aerobic. So running long, steady state like that is your aerobic energy system, and that's important from a recovery standpoint. We need that for a healthy body and a healthy athletic body. But when you're pitching, that's not the primary energy system we're using. You're doing one explosive event.
Yeah, fast switch.
Right, in a matter of a second or two, and then you've got 30 seconds to recover. And when they had the little stopwatch on you, they probably had a shorter time. But right, we've got a certain amount of time to recover. So we're looking at a different energy system. And so long, steady state exercise, many days after throwing, multiple times after throwing, is probably not the right move.
Yeah, you guys know the science behind it. For me, it was like a feel
Just
thing.
didn't feel
Like
good.
yeah,
Right, yeah,
it
that's
was
exactly
like
it.
that. I just feel like shit after I'm done doing these like 45-minute runs. Like
Yeah.
I come back in, I'm miserable, I'm in a bad mood, my back hurts. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Again, it can be that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be about feel. Science should back up what you feel. I mean,
Yes.
you're on the level of the elite athlete that everybody's trying to be, and if you're doing it and running's not working for you, that's a sign that like we don't all have to run. But I think it is about finding your thing, finding
Yeah,
what works
like-
for you. And for you, rowing is maybe a preferred, and maybe a
Yeah.
Salt Lake secondary option, maybe elliptical last option.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, running's not the thing. I think that's great. You certainly don't have a running frame. I wouldn't
Yeah.
suggest you go run a marathon based on your frame. There's other skills you have. So
You know what? If there were swimming pools, like Olympic swimming pools in clubhouses, I'd probably do swimming.
Maybe you just got to talk to the White Sox. See if you put one in for you.
Yeah.
I don't know where. We'd have to like put it underground or something. But yeah, I agree 100%. I really think that like the biggest thing is you got to learn yourself, learn your own body, start to realize what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I can go and crush legs in the weight room and feel super tired after and feel sore, but I'm like, man, like that was good. Like my body is responding well to that.
Yeah.
Whereas I go and jog for 45 minutes running poles, and it's like I'm miserable the entire time, and then I'm miserable after, and now my body hurts. So I'm over it. I'm not going to do something that doesn't make me feel like I'm preparing well. So yeah, that's my bit on running. I do like to run sprints. I ran sprints today.
Again,
but that's like that
different energy
short,
system, right?
explosive. Yeah,
That
just
fits much more
being completely still and then boom, go like 50 yards. No, do 6 to 8 of those and it's all good.
love it.
Yeah.
Recommend that highly. I think that running distances is for a specific group of people, and the sprinting, on the other hand, should be for quite a few athletes for sure. So that's going to be a system you use quite a bit, and it's a skill you use. If you look at your pitching mechanics, you broke you down frame by frame, looked at you in a photo situation or a slow video, like your lunge position and your stride is long, similar to what it would be in a sprint or even more than a sprint. So
Yeah.
similar body mechanically. It's been fun, man.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from you.
Yeah,
I really
this was
did.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've talked to you a lot, and just together when we've been working together. But I learned a ton here too.
Cool.
This was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad that I was able to kind of bring my perspective on my journey and everything. It's I think it's cool to talk about just because like I feel like my path getting to the big leagues, experiencing like utter failure and then kind of turning it around is a bit unique. So I'm always open to share my experience and if anyone's like listening or watching, like maybe they can take something from that and apply it to their own life. So that's good stuff.
I think so for sure. I think it's incredible. Phenomenal story, phenomenal success. It's awesome. I love the ice. Evan, if you're looking for a Christmas present from me, either of those would be great.
Talk to Leah about that.
Okay, fair enough. No, I appreciate it, Lucas. It's great to have you, and great to hear that perspective. And I hope that's helpful to hear so many cool things from the overall journey to the preparation phase, and man, the detail level of what you go through to really prepare, especially at the major league level. I mean, it's no joke to go out there and face some of the guys you have to face. I mean, the hitting is just insane now.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I don't know how those guys do it, man. I really don't. It's extremely difficult. I've had the chance to stand in the box a few times, being in the AL, and now they're even talking about going universal DH. So I may never do it again. But seeing a like 95 plus mile per hour fastball coming at you, I don't know how they do it. I literally don't. The only pitch I could ever hit was like a hanging breaking ball. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
That's fair enough. Well, great. I appreciate it, Lucas. Good luck this next season, and we're at the start of your off season, so I know you got a lot of prep time. So looking
Absolutely.
forward to working with you.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to working with you over the next several months. So thank you so much. So this is Keimcast. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time. This was Keimcast, and we are the Keim Human Performance Institute. Thank you very much for listening. We'd love to continue the conversation with you. Please hop on our social media. It's at KeimHPI and engage with us there. If you'd like us to feature a topic or answer any questions live on the show, post your comments there. You can also check us out on our website at keimperformance.com. and there you can see links to content that we've posted throughout our podcast for more information.